This is the Moon Tower Podcast with your host, Ian Hubbard. Alrighty, folks. Episode 9 right here at Moon Tower Podcast. How is everybody doing tonight? 9.
2-9?
2-9.
Ah.
Well, folks, we're back with you. Hope you enjoyed your holiday, your Halloween holiday. Got your trick-or-treating in, got your scary movies in, got your sugar overdose, and hopefully you got some of those things that your parents warned you about.
Diabetes.
Day of Halloween, good times. Day after Halloween, Wolford Brimley commercial.
Day of beaties.
Day of beaties. Is that what the Mexicans were celebrating?
Dia de los beaties.
Muertos.
Yes.
Bietos.
See.
CC. No, hope you had a good time. Hope you had a good time enacting your civic duties. Also with the midterm elections. Apparently, a lot of people were up in arms with the Democrats retaking the House of Representatives. Woohoo! Yeah, let's get an applause going.
Blue wave.
Yeah.
Better than the brown wave.
Yeah. Well, according to some people, it's not too far off. It's not too much of a difference. But yeah, we'll be covering, taking a look at that, giving you some of our opinion about the past midterm elections and what that might have in store for old Donald Trump as he closes out the last 2 years of his inaugural season as president. We'll probably have several more. Also, on this episode, we're doing a little change up on this episode, and you'll see. Oh, actually, you won't see it. You'll hear it. Yes, we are changing things up. Starting with this episode, we're gonna do a little experiment. We're not gonna tell you what. We're not gonna tell you when. We're not gonna tell you how. You're just gonna have to stay tuned. But in the meantime, I'm sure some of you listeners have, if you follow us on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, you noticed in the past week we put out a call for, especially in the Glass City area, anyone interested or intertwined with the arts and entertainment or local businesses or anyone with politics or really anyone of notice and in the area. If you're interested in coming on or you know anyone that's interested in coming on doing an interview or spotlight, we would love to have you. We are starting to focus on doing things like that for local figures and their effect in the city and the region. And if not, just realize that here in the Moon Tower, we have a particular set of skills. And if we need to, we will find you. We will hunt you down. And we will interview you. So I hope you're ready. I hope you're ready, folks. Especially you in the okay, sorry. I was catching a flashback there real quick. We would love to have you on. To promote any business that you have, any creative venture that you have. Because here at the Moon Tower, we were quite loving. We want to nurture. We want to heal, help, and support in any way we can.
Love and peace, baby.
Yes, baby. But now, anybody got any leads? Let us know. We're doing some homework. We got some people we like to go after and whatnot. That was actually pretty cool. By the way, I threw this out on Facebook the other day and got a pretty decent response so far.
Oh, hell yeah.
One of our friends and listeners. I hope she's a listener. I think she might be. Maybe not. Who knows?
Are you listening?
Papa, can you hear me? Miss Ashley, she linked this up with a bunch of local businessmen and artists. I haven't looked into it, but I guess they're pretty prominent in the area. So we're off to a good start. We'll see where that goes. But in the meantime, we have to get you caught up to speed on football season is still going on. So, and the HUAC Fighting Angry Goats are once again, actually not once again, because they never left it, are still undefeated. But in our eyes, regardless of whatever happens, they're champions, Nate. They've done such a good job so far, and we're just so proud of them, right?
Oh, yeah.
But no, the HUAC Fighting Angry Goats continue on their impressive winning streak in their inaugural season. This time, a 27-23 come from behind victory against the Jackson City Jackoffs. Whew! Man, exhausting game, exhilarating game, take your breath away kind of game. One for the books, one for the ages, however the hell you want to quantify it. My goodness, this was a great game.
Goats, they stole my hat.
Look! Back and forth competition all day. Jackson City jumped out to a 10-0 lead late in the first quarter after breakdowns and poor tackling in the GOAT defense led to big plays from Jackoff QB Jack Minglehort, who led the game altogether with 148 yards on the ground while running the ever-lethal triple option attack. The Goats themselves were able to settle in with a ground game of their own as running back Who the Hell Is That carried the rock for 79 yards and 14 carries alone in the second quarter, keeping the Jackoff offense on the sidelines and leading the Goats to a late second quarter touchdown. After trading punts to begin the third, slot receiver Daniel Collette came up big for the Goats, scoring a 56-yard touchdown and a reverse run midway through the third, giving HUAC a 14-10 lead. On the ensuing kickoff, return man Bill Billings for the Jackoffs was nearly decapitated when a flying squirrel smashed into his face mask.
Oh, boy.
He was carted off midfield and doused in Robitussin, later returning in the fourth. And my, what a fourth quarter it was, with both offenses gaining huge yardage and scoring two touchdowns apiece. HUAC place kicker Phil Dawson had his first blocked extra point attempt after a botched snap following a 37-yard scamper by Helizat with 6:10 left to play, leaving HUAC with a 20-10 lead. Jackson City came roaring back, scoring a quick touchdown after quarterback Minglehort connected with wide receiver Jackie Mason on 4th and 3 from the GOAT 46. After a surprise onside kick, Jackson chewed up nearly 4 minutes of clock, abruptly switching to a short passing game as its running game had stalled, capping off an 8-play 52-yard drive with a 7-yard touchdown pass from Minglehort to Jack Berry, with a missed extra point, leaving the score standing at 23-20. And that's when the Goats took over. Fresh off his stoic leadership in prior weeks, Jimmy the Gent Doppelganger, looking like the greats of the past, took the HUAC offense 76 yards in 2 minutes and 14 seconds, capping 2 fourth downs with clutch runs out of bounds to stop the clock and move the chains. Then, on 2nd and 6 from inside the Jackoff 17, Doppelganger rolls right, is chased by defenders, and finds offensive MVP Alex Murphy, wide receiver, in the corner where he throws a laser right into the chest with Murphy catching it, getting his feet down for a late GOAT touchdown. After the Jackoffs failed to convert a long fourth down, Jimmy the Gent Doppelganger took a knee to run the clock out and presenting a come-from-behind 27-23 victory for the HUAC Fighting Angry Goats. Altogether, Doppelganger threw for 226 yards, with over half coming in the fourth quarter alone. Running back Who the Hell Is That had his best day of the year, running for almost 150 yards and 1 touchdown. The HUAC defense was a bit shaky all game long, but held off the Jackoffs when needed to be with late takeaways in the fourth quarter. The Goats extend their season to a still undefeated 8-0 with their upcoming match versus the 2-7 Philadelphia Hootenannies. The Hootenannies have really nothing to tout about, as both of the victories have come from technical withdrawals from their opposing team. We were once again able to catch up with Coach Brett Stinkfister for the HUAC Fighting Angry Goats and get some notes and get some words of wisdom from the ever-loving coach. Coach, another come-from-behind victory. You guys seem to pull it out when need be. Yeah, well, we hang together and we keep playing good. once again, offensive line came through for us. Jimmy threw the ball. Threw the ball good. We ran the ball good. We caught the ball good. Everything was good about it. Yeah, we got a little bit behind, but we didn't lose face. And this next team we got coming up, can't overlook them. They're a tough team. Oh, Coach, your front seven gave us some big plays early in the game. That Jack Minglehort for the Jackoffs, that triple option nearly killed you, especially. But you guys were able to tighten it up in the second half. What kind of adjustments were you able to make at halftime? Well, we decided to keep the eye on the ball and follow where it goes, and whoever has it, bring them to the ground, and just keep playing solid defense. They kept it up. They were able to keep tackling and defend the ball and not really let them score. We gave up a couple big scores there late, but we were able to hold and keep a couple fourth downs. We were able to bring it home. Bring home the bacon, as they say. Well, Coach, once again, you got the Philadelphia Hootenannies coming up. They're 2-7, but they've played everyone tough in their unfortunate 7 losses. Granted, the 2 victories they have come from technical withdrawals from the opposing team. They do spout once again a big offensive line, so that front seven's that's going to have another challenge for them. Do you have anything that you'd like to present to them in this week of practice? Well, you just got to keep playing physical, keep playing fast, keep playing defense. Go defense. That's the way we do it. That's the way we've coached these guys all year. They just got to do the way that we've done it. And if we don't do it, then might get that one hell of the year, and we don't want to have that this late in the season. Well, you are deep, Coach. You are deep in the conference. Don't want to have that first L, especially leading your division as you are. What's your outlook for the rest of the year so far? Well, you can't overlook any of the teams on your schedule. You don't want to look too far ahead. Might get bit in the ass. And, don't want to do that. Don't want to take an L. We don't like L's. We like W's. We're all about the W's and the Benjamins, but mainly the W's. Once again, words of wisdom from Coach Brett Stinkfister. Once again, the HUAC Fighting Angry Goats, 8-0, coming off another come-from-behind 27-23 victory against the Jackson City Jackoffs. That is your sports update with your favorite team, the HUAC Fighting Angry Goats. Coming up next, we got a little bit more for the Moon Tower Podcast.
Meh.
Meh.
Stay mad, goats.
Stay mad to the bone.
Meh.
And we're back after that quick break. Thank you for once again joining us. There is one thing that we have to get off our brains, and that is, obviously, the midterm elections that happened a few days ago. Most notably November 6th, which was a Tuesday.
Ooh, yeah.
Now, I saw, Nate, that you posted that you voted for the first time.
I did.
Now, can you expel who you voted for so we can all judge you? Don't do that. I'm joking. Where'd you go? Did you have where was your polling center?
It was actually very close to me. I was surprised. There's elementary school, like Hawkins, I believe, over on Bancroft, and that's where I voted.
Did you vote early or did you vote on the day of?
Day of. It was actually a very easy process. Like, I got there about 9:30, like just before 10 o'clock, something like that. And just, a couple stragglers here and there, not a whole lot of people. Just went in, got my card, went over to the polling station, got my business done, and got out of there.
If I may ask, what's kept you from? Because how old are you?
29.
29. So you've been eligible for
11 years, I guess.
Well, yeah. a total of what, 3 presidential elections and three or 4 midterms, give or take. If I may ask, not to be rude, but what's kept you from from doing the deed?
Mostly just like voter apathy and stuff like that. Thinking my vote's really not going to make a difference. But the older I get, I'm more I realize it's like one vote, a couple votes can make a difference. And even like like you don't think you're doing anything, like getting your opinion out there one way or another is better than not doing anything at all if you want change.
Yeah.
So.
Did you vote more specifically for like who was running for governor, or did you vote more this time around for like local issues? Because
honestly, I knew like the only thing like making difference on a federal level is House Representatives, and then there's a couple local issues like issue 1 and like all that going on for Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
So,
which that was my main thing. Was I damn near I almost sat this one out. But there was a few local issues, like issue 1, like the drug rehabilitation bill.
Yeah.
And then there was the mental health levy for Toledo, the children's services levy for Toledo, the Port Authority levy, the Water Commission, which is still very controversial because, from my limited understanding of it, there's discussion about like divvying up the water supply between, say the suburbs and the main city. Now, I could be wrong on that.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how that's all like
keeping
regulated.
the jail downtown and shit like that. Like,
yeah.
my whole thing was the local things because that literally directly affects us, from where we live. No, at least for me anymore. Like even nowadays, when a lot of people, like I think it was like 100 million people in the last presidential election didn't vote. Eligible voters, over 100 million eligible voters did not partake. And at one point, I don't blame them. I really don't. There's a lot that goes into it, and especially from the powers that be and from the money that be.
Yeah.
But for me, the midterms are really so much more important than, say, the presidential election, because you have the opportunity to vote on what goes on in your town.
Oh, yeah.
And, I mean, you have the same opportunity in the main presidential election because there's, the various...
Well, a lot of, like, issues, I feel like, undercut, too.
They get over...
It's like, hey, it's like, presidential election season.
And it gets overblown. It's like... Fucking Doug Stanhope had a bit about it in his 2004 special Deadbeat Hero, where he's like, he compares it to American Idol.
Yeah.
Which was still a big show at the time. Like it was the hot new show where you voted for the figurehead.
Yeah.
And well, the funny thing is too is like if you even take the midterms halfway seriously, like and believe that your vote for, say, the House or the Senate really does matter, regardless of however much money is being spent, which is another point that I'm gonna get to.
Oh yeah.
Which, fucking unbelievable.
There's a lot of factors in that.
Yeah, and it's in what I call the peer theory, like everything builds from the ground up. You should have those branches of government which builds all the way up. You have the legislative and the executive, and then the judicial, and then the big honcho, the president. Well, even in some cases, the judicial should be above the president because they are the ones that enforce the rules and whatnot, and the president has to abide by them. Anyway, but you and I and everyone in the know should know that, as the old saying goes, the power rests with the people. At least that's what it should. The funny thing is that every 2 to 4 years is that the people feel like they have the power to be able to fucking wrest control from whatever party that they want to abide to or against. But when you have midterm elections costing more than the GDP of most small countries, it doesn't really matter whether or not one's party can stymie, say, Trump's agenda in favor of the Democrats or empower it in favor of, say, the Republicans. Because you really, you can call me a conspiracy theorist or whatnot, but when you follow the dollar trails, it really does lead to some very unfavorable positions. Like I said, when they tallied the total of the midterm campaigns, the cost of it, upwards of $5.2 billion with a fucking capital B. Billion.
Okay. That's substantial.
5.2 for the midterms for Senate and House and state levies and local levies and fucking Jody needs a new lemonade stand, like whatever kind of horse shit you want to think of. $5.2 billion, and this is mainstream news. This is mainstream news from Alex Jones, you know.
Yeah.
$5.2 billion. And it doesn't really matter whether or not Trump has created sort of an ideological vacuum, as one publication put it, within the Republican Party, or that Democrats have kind of hedged their bets on, bringing him to justice and bringing those associated with him to justice.
Not to mention hoping on a blue wave and
all
that sort of.
It's all.
Yeah,
It's all fucking jack off shit. Honestly,
not to say that it didn't work in the House, because it did.
It's to be able to get those people on the fringe to be like, oh, you know what? Like, they got the right idea. I'm going to go with them now. And then something's going to happen and someone's going to say something and they're going to get those cats on board and be like, you know what? I was wrong about them. I'm going to go with this guy now. When he says, like, no, like, and it's a fucking double-edged sword, because you get those...
Not a lot of people understand how to think for themselves, I feel.
You're not too far off, to be quite honest. And I'm not being condescending. That's a fucking absolute truth. Like, that is really an I don't believe in very many absolutisms. That's one of those ones I do believe in. And I'm not saying that I'm, the smartest guy in the room, but bullshit's bullshit when I can see it and smell it.
Oh, yeah.
And when over $5 billion on midterms, like, that's $5 billion worth of fucking bullshit that I can just smell throughout the. I see that, I read that, and I smell it.
Mm-hmm.
And, if you had your candidate, if you had someone you're going to stick by, like, by all means, like, go for it. I'm not fucking trying to nudge you off of your band slide, but don't weigh the hot topics so heavily that you can't see beneath the veneer. Because once you cannot see beneath the veneer, and what I mean by that is, once you can't smell the bullshit, you can't look beneath it, you can't try to, like, peer behind the curtain, see what the Wizard of Oz is doing, that's when you lose traction. That's when you just blindly give up and just decide that whoever you're going to side with has your best interest in hand. Because guess what, folks? That ain't always the case. It has never really been the case, and it probably will never be the case. And I was posting about for some fucking dumb reason. It's not dumb. It's pure entertainment on my part. Every presidential election, every midterm election, I'll sit around any television or any screen I can find and just watch results, knowing what little I know about the actual process and believing what I actually believe about whatever process. And I'll just watch the results. Like, it's to me, that is the ultimate form of sports entertainment.
Yep. like
Like some
before
people, like some people watch the stock market day to day. Like they'll look at the Dow Jones numbers, or the Nasdaq or the S&P numbers, or some people will bet on the Super Bowl. That's mine. That's my version of it. Like I remember when Obama Rama got elected, the second time against Romney. I I voted at about 12:30, and then I went to the neighborhood watering hole from 1 to about 11:30, and I went back and forth a couple trips to a friend's place and got something to eat one night. I just sat there at the bar, watching the results. I don't know, for some reason that's pure entertainment for me, but.
I don't blame you. Like, as soon as I got done voting, I went on 538 just to see like what the projections were for like who was going to win Senate, who's going to win House, and all that. And it was actually pretty accurate. Like it was good. Like like looking at it because like I got a good idea. 538 actually uses like pretty good algorithms as far as like like doing like past voting results and all that, along with like current voter turnout.
What's this 530 you speak of?
Oh, it's basically like they'll project like voting patterns and all that. Like they'll you can go on there and like say you want to know like what's the chances of Democrats winning the House of Representatives or whatever, or who's going to win like presidential election, all that. And what is it, Nate Silver? Like you might have heard of him. Yeah. Like he's like one of those projectionists.
Mr. Betts guy.
Yeah. He works on that website or whatever, and like he'll do like some of the projections and all that. But I like that website, and they're pretty damn accurate as far as like like just like predicting things.
Okay.
As far as like presidential elections and all that go, or like midterms and all that.
See, like shit like that's like stuff like this is a bad bet. When you got some dude who, correct me if I'm wrong, he's done like sports betting, and then now he's doing political betting.
I would say it's like
as far
betting.
Well, as far as the odds.
Yeah.
Like counting the odds and shit. Like, because he was wrong about Hillary, right?
No, I believe he was correct.
Really?
Yeah, like a lot of the like stuff he does as far as like statistics and stuff, like he puts like a lot of like factors behind it. Like
I did. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. No,
Sorry.
just like the general like practice that they do over there. It's like they use like real like figures for statistics to like predict like like heavy like elections and stuff like that. And I want to say the last couple elections they've actually been pretty damn accurate. Like I don't think they've really made a whole lot of mistakes as far as like like winner or loser. Like 2 years ago, the presidential election, I'm pretty sure they said Hillary was going to lose.
Look it up. Can you look it up?
Yeah.
Because I want to make sure. Because, you came back with the results, Nate. What'd you find?
Seems she was predicted to win, at least in the popular vote, but we saw how that went out.
Which happened.
Yeah, she did win the popular vote, but by not near as much as they thought she was going to.
What, 3 million votes don't count?
Yeah, seemed she didn't win in the states that she needed to, and that ended up influencing the election quite fiercely.
Can you tell us what they predicted she did not win?
It was in the states of Pennsylvania, Michigan, Florida, and Wisconsin.
And can you look up whether or not, because I believe she did not win either of those states.
No, she didn't win any of those states. What was it?
Well, because Florida was the big one.
Yep.
Florida was really a deciding factor. Because I remember watching that election. Supposedly it was live.
Mm-hmm.
And Florida was like the hanger on once again, like in 2000.
Oh yeah, and like basically what they were saying is that if 1 in 100 people who had voted for Trump had voted for Hillary, it would have been different. But that's just not the way it went.
Yeah.
So even then, though, like if you think about it, like that 1 in 100 votes, like that's a lesser margin than you would think to for a person to win. So just like going into like later elections, coming up or whatever, it's like that 1 in 100 votes can actually make a difference.
On paper, yeah. Not to keep beating a dead horse, but like you said, it was your first time going through the whole ballot and whatnot. Like, what was your experience?
Honestly, it was easier than I expected. Like I said, I never voted before, so woke up about 9:30, went over there. There really wasn't that much of a crowd. A couple old people here and there, but So get my ID checked out. They give me my card to go to the voting ballot station or whatever, and I'm in and out of there within 10 minutes. And nice easy process, honestly.
You finally popped your cherry on the voting stance, eh, Nate?
Yeah, I did. In this latest election, I decided to go ahead and vote this time.
What made you change your mind?
Just in the last couple elections, I haven't voted, and I felt like, more or less, like, voting has gained more significance in the last couple of years. So I wanted my voice to be heard, like this election, and especially the next election when we're going to be voting on the president again. Because the last election was very close in terms of just electoral votes and whatnot, and that can make a whole election
sway one way or another.
Oh yeah. So vote has a lot more meaning to it than you would think. At the end of the day, like 1 in 100 vote would make a difference.
No, it's good that you did, Nate, because I almost didn't. Oddly enough, I almost sat this one out. But there were a few local levies that I wanted to partake in, at least give my vote towards. One of which was the mental health levy, which was for rehabilitation programs. Another one was children's services. Another one was the Port Authority, which would add jobs. Hopefully, fingers crossed. The local levies were my main plan of action, I guess, for this time around for voting. The governorship and the Senate and that stuff, like it really almost became a joke, and really didn't really matter. It was the local stuff, because I feel like once again that is the most pertinent to our lives and affects us directly and whatnot. But with that said, we're going to take a short break, which is still kind of an oxymoron. Nate's got to pee. I got to pee. We'll be back. And with that, here is our ads for this week's entire podcast. This episode of the Moon Tower Podcast is brought to you by Dreamwatch from Saturn Boy. And we're back from our piss break. Nate, what'd you think of that?
It was a good ass piss break.
Did you dangle it twice?
At least twice. I believe you were referring to the track.
That was good, right?
Yeah. I dig it. I like the atmospheric stuff.
Had a nice cinematic quality to it.
Oh yeah.
But no, real quick, one last bit about the midterms and the whole voting bit. There is one thing I want to fucking get off. I want to get off my chest. Yeah, is the non-voters that didn't partake for one reason or another in this midterm or the last presidential election or the upcoming one in 2 years. There's going to be a lot of them for one reason or another, and I want to at least collect some sort of solidarity with those folks, because a lot of people who are voters give non-voters a whole lot of shit for it. And I don't, for the most part, I don't feel that it is quite, it's quite negligent in a way, because instead, there's a lot of people don't vote for one reason or another. But those who don't vote have their reason. It's not that they're all apathetic. Apathy, it really is it's probably the number one reason. Another one is work schedules. I talked to at least a handful of people at work who said that because they had to work on Super Tuesday or voting day or whatever the fuck you want to put it as, that they weren't able to. A lot of people want to, they're just not able to for one reason or another. And at the same time, a lot of people, they feel like they should participate, but they don't care enough. And the reason they don't care enough is that, once again, like you said, Nate,
like issues just don't pertain to them, or like.
Well, and they,
besides that,
they
just
don't,
like
they don't think it matters. This,
exactly,
that, or the other.
Yeah.
And I think one of the reasons is, a big reason is, honestly, is that they've seen the way that politics have worked in our country, at the federal level, at the big time level, at the big game level. And it's not worked in their favor. It's not worked in anyone's favor. It's only worked either towards like a gridlock or big money. And their voice has been shut out. It's disillusionment, disenfranchisement, where they're left out. They really are, because they're on the lower part of the totem pole, and they don't have a voice because they don't have the money for it. Literally, like, big money does control it. Like, there was a statistic that just came out, I believe it was yesterday or the day before, said that the amount of money, total money, between both parties, or all parties, within this midterm, $5.3 billion spent on campaign ads, television, radio, internet, especially internet now. And a lot of people just don't feel like that it's even worth it to even participate.
Oh, yeah.
And at the same time, I can't blame them. Like,
I mean, it's overwhelming, honestly.
Well, not even overwhelming. Well, yeah, it is overwhelming, because you're raised to believe that your vote counts, your voice counts, like whatever you have to say has some play into this whole kind of game of it, and then to find out that you don't have the money for it, essentially, but those that do work the chess pieces, and to find that, and not even to find that out, but just to know that that's the rule of the game, and to know that that amount of money, for instance, is growing and growing. Like, they said that the 5.2 or $3 billion that was spent on just the midterms of this past midterm election was 35% higher than the last midterms in 2014, 2016,
Yeah.
excuse me, and even higher than the presidential election. Like, so many people had literally an invested interest in this past round of voting. And I think a lot of people really feel that they, not only does their vote not matter, their voice doesn't matter, them themselves in this, participating in this whole conjuncture of, I have a say in whoever is running my city, my state, my region, my whatever, my country. That doesn't matter. Is because the money has taken over. I mean, it's always, how to say, it's always ran the fucking show.
I mean, especially in the last decade or so with all the lobbying, now that it's a legal thing. It's a lot of people see that, they're not stupid to it. It's it's a thing. It's lobbying is gonna be a thing for a long time.
It's been that way. It's been that way for fucking ever. Ever since before you and I were born, man. I mean, that's and it kind of goes to show not only how much money's been poured into whatever election you want to feel like you have to partake in, but who's doling it out. One of the things, for instance, I'll give you an example from my part. I was I believe I mentioned this before, and if I have, someone please quote me on it. Back in 2007, when Obama was initially running for president, 2007, 2008, I was all about him. I bought into it. I was still young, dumb, full of cum, whatever. And yeah, thinking this dude, he might know some shit. He's got a fresh face. He might have some fresh ideas, etc., etc. And then when he got into the throes of his campaign, and it was turning out that he was going to face off against, the supposed late great John McCain. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I was all about it. I was all about the hope and change, and the fresh face, and maybe this guy's got something to him, and et cetera, et cetera. Turns out he was receiving 4 times as much money from Wall Street, especially from establishments like Goldman Sachs, than McCain was. That's how I knew that, no, that was complete and utter fucking hogwash. Whatever fucking message he was trying to bring to the table.
Yeah, no matter who you're voting for, somebody's gonna be bought out almost.
Well, it's not who you're voting for. It's what you're voting for.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people found that out, especially with Obama, where they thought they were voting for hope and change and a new way, and it was more of the same, just heightened because of the circumstances. He came in, his presidency started with the whole bailout, the Big Bang bailout after the big crash, the recession of 2007, 2008. After Lehman Brothers took a shit, and AIG and whatnot, and they gave billions and billions to the banks, and at least I think a lot of people realized that he was part of the establishment, not necessarily the establishment, but the higher class establishment, the ones who had, the people who have the money and who have the ability to run the game, run the gamut. In the case with Obama, at least for me, not only did he continue the same foreign policy that has been going on for decades, he increased it. And one way that still bugs the shit out of me is the increase of drone warfare in Pakistan, in I believe Somalia, in I believe Iraq. He is essentially kind of like the Miles Dyson, to put it in Terminator references. He's the Terminator president, like Anwar Al-Awlaki, the American citizen, technically, that was killed in I believe it was Iraq. Quote me if I'm wrong, anyone please. Where it was an assassination, where the kill list, and that's what it's called, a kill list that he drew up with, I believe it was John Brennan, from the head of the CIA at the time, for these drone attacks. And that's what it was, just a continuation of the same old, but progressing into like deeper and deeper territory, and initiating the NDAA, which is the National Defense Authorization Act. I believe it was contracted New Year's Eve 2011 or 2012. Once again, quote me on it, please. Where it essentially allows American-born citizens to be held under indefinite detention.
Okay, so that could be helping with what we've been going with, like immigration.
Not even that, like American-born citizens, like say, and this is it might be a stretch, like you or I are considered enemies of the state, fucking.
Just,
some sort of team kicks the door in, or like they send them, it hasn't happened according to headlines, but it at least it sets a precedence. And it's another case of the state, capital S, like big government, or however you want to put it, like military industrial complex, the corporate industrial complex, however you want to put it, against essentially us. Like I really feel like it really did set a precedence, and Trump's exploiting that. There's no question about that. But the way he's exploiting it is he's trying to keep all of the little wars kind of hidden. The stuff that we're doing overseas, like foreign policy and whatnot, and the corporate coup d'etat, as Chris Hedges would put it, the great journalist for Truth Dig, and who's written about it for years. He's written about the corporate apparatus, the corporate coup d'etat, the inverted totalitarianism, as written about by Sheldon Wallen, where it gives you the semblance of a democratic state, but at the same time it has this oppressive force where the money shifts upwards and we are left with essentially nothing. And in that we have the failing state, we're essentially left with the crumbs from the table of the feast. And I honestly think that's one of the reasons, that's the main reason, once again, that a lot of people don't vote, is not necessarily apathy, but because they believe that their voice is stricken, like it's gone, like as far as their semblance into this republic, this democracy that we supposedly have. It's whatever they have to say is fuck beyond belief, and that's why they don't care. And at the same time, I don't blame them. Like we were talking about with the billions of dollars that was spent just on this midterm election, not a presidential fucking election, a fucking midterm election. Mm-hmm. $5.2 billion on a midterm election for governors and senates and local levies and whatever the fuck else. And to think that, Joe Blow has a voice within that, like, I can understand the disillusionment and why they don't care and why 100 million people don't vote, and the gerrymandering and the structural rigging that occurs. Like in Georgia, they're still recounting the fucking votes in Georgia and Florida.
Yep.
Because they think that the votes were recounted or shifted during their actual election.
Yep. Like, what is it? Like, the Democratic candidate for Florida ended up conceding, but then ended up putting him back in the race because they had so many uncounted votes that there would have been actual, like chance for them to win.
Well, I think too, same things happened in Georgia. Stacey Abrams she hasn't conceded, but they pinned her for a loss. Now, and it's late in the night, but it looks like she might actually have a fucking chance.
Yeah.
Obviously, what happened in 2000?
Yep.
With Al Gore, and what happened with fucking John Kerry, where essentially votes, hundreds of thousands of votes were stolen.
Yep.
And it's not the first. This is not like a new thing, and the whole which kind of makes me laugh at the whole idea of the whole Russian collusion thing with Trump and whatnot.
I mean, as sad as it is, but yeah, it's like, it's a thing.
Well, the thing is, like, for instance, with that is, like, we've been doing that for years. The United States has.
Yep.
CIA coup d'etats in fucking Iran and Guatemala and
we've been
Chile
interfering
and
like
whatnot.
International politics for years and years.
Oh, fucking ever since post World War II.
Yep.
All throughout Vietnam, fucking
South Africa,
Cambodia.
Yeah.
pick a third world country. We've been there. Like when Russia in the late 90s with Boris Yeltsin, we interfered in that fucking election. It was on the cover of Time magazine.
Yeah. So
Boris Yeltsin's fucking drunken ass
that's
face
not
on
telling,
front
then what is
which is why the whole collusion thing is hilarious to me. Regardless of whether or not it's true, like it could very well be true. I honestly don't care. I just think it's funny because it's our medicine getting served back to us, and we don't like the taste of it. But
gotta love the CIA.
Oh man, we can go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. But we might have to do a 2-part on this. We will check with next time. But until then, you folks out there, you better stay sane. Better know what the fuck you're doing. Keep your eyes open, your ears peeled. Know what you're doing. Because from here on out, it might get a little crazy. But just know, you got a friend in the Moon Tower Podcast.
And we love you.
And we love you. Assalamu alaikum. Over and out.
Hasta luego.